Welcome to Marvel Vision, a podcast about Marvel, the MCU, and right now, Secret Invasion. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are going to be talking about Secret Invasion Episode 5, Harvest. So if you haven't seen it on Disney Plus, check it out now. But after 5 episodes, Nick Fury finally pops his claws. Everybody knows what I mean when I say that. No explanation.
Oh, yeah. Opens his series of drawers. All the drawers he has, he opens all of them.
Does it seem like each episode we're getting less of a Marvel flip, like every time before this thing starts?
In the last episode, and I've seen it, so I can talk to this. They just get through the M, and that's it. And then they cut off.
Wow!
You don't even see the Arvel.
I feel gypped every time, so it's a little upsetting.
So
like
the overall plot of this episode is everybody kind of getting in place for the finale. Nick Fury does get his eye patch back. He's on the warpath. Gravik almost gets killed by his allies after killing one of the people he's working for questioning him. And Olivia Colman, her character does basically a speed run through the entire plot, does the whole plot much more efficiently and much faster than anybody else over the course of this episode. Charm. Great.
She doesn't die, which is great.
That is great too. First episode of Secret Invasion where somebody isn't left dead at the end, I think. So that's nice.
I also like the nod to Darth Vader's funeral that we got in this one. It was really cool.
I mean, that's a thing that happens. You're talking about like putting people on a funeral pyre. I don't think that was invented for Darth Vader.
No, I mean, a Viking funeral is you put them on fire, then put them on a boat. Darth Vader funeral is just
none of that order.
You don't put them on fire. The first couple of times they put them on fire first, and they kept burning their hands when they were trying to lift them on the boat. And then
a lot of times you light someone on fire even before they're quite dead. You're like, all right, let's get this thing going.
Oh, that's
there was the Viking king, who was probably named Eric, was like, we got to work out some of the efficiency issues that we're having here. A lot of folks getting their hands burned. Let's bring this around the horn. Any ideas? Throw them out there.
Hey, Viking conference, everybody get in here.
Yeah.
So guys, what do you think about this Viking funeral?
Yeah,
we need to get our funeral branded.
I'll put the meaning on your Google Cal, which is there is Google Calvin.
Calvin
Yes,
the Terrible.
We scratch it on his chest, and that's how you know the meeting's happening. Anyway, we're gonna go.
But
yes,
that's all right. This is more fun than the episode of Secret Invasion.
Hey, come on, man! Come on, that's not true. He got
so
to
while
go
we're talking
to
about the
funeral drawers. We got to see fun secret drawers.
Yeah, it's really the Secret Invasion. The invasion is when he built his insets into the sarcophagus or whatever, where he had his series of clothing items, his sock drawer that he spent millions of shield money on. But I want to talk about this funeral. Like, they go out to burn Talos, right. Gaia and Scylla, and it's supposed to be this. I
thought the wedding ring part was very nice and touching. I thought that was super cool.
That was nice. You know what I would have liked? Anything that was Skrull specific. They were like, let's do this very traditional Skrull burial. It's exactly like a regular human burial. We put a wedding ring on.
They weren't speaking English.
Do a Skrull thing.
They did a one Skrull song prayer thing.
But I guess what I'm saying is, like, this is emblematic of what my take on this whole series is. It's like, do some stuff that goes one step further, like that goes a little bit deeper into the characters, into anything. Everything feels like a little underbaked. They had like one take to do everything, and I just want them to be like, have a second thought where it's like, is there maybe a slightly different Skrull thing that they could do here rather than do what Game of Thrones would do when they're burying someone? I'm just shocked constantly on this show.
Well, I thought the ring part was very touching. It got me in my feeling.
Well, let's turn to you then, Pete, because I know we've spent a lot of time railing on Secret Invasion over the course of this podcast, but you seem like, as of last episode, you made a turn towards the more positive. Did that upswing continue this episode, it feels like?
Yes, yeah, because, it's nice to see Fury kind of being Fury, and also that the British agent, she is awesome in this episode. She was kicking butt, shooting Skrulls, like she had some zingers in there. This was a fun.
Can I talk about that? I know it sounded like I was joking about it earlier. Obviously, I'm already in the tank for Olivia Colman. I love her. She's great. And I've said this on previous episodes, whenever she comes on screen, the show immediately picks up. But she legitimately, like, she starts this episode being like, she gives us everything that we have been asking for in the show. She figures out who Skrulls are. She
Yep.
makes moves there. She shows us different ways of doing it. Like she marks into the office. There's her boss who she's figured out a Skrull. He doesn't want to say it, so she shoots him in the leg, which immediately, or is it the
Like
hand?
a boss just
Yeah.
rolls
Well-
up, shoots a dude in the leg.
She shoots him in the leg, but then his hand is also bleeding randomly, and
I don't know.
then his hand
So that
turns
was
into
sloppy,
Skrull hand.
but at least like
No,
we're
but,
getting
yeah.
a surprising reveal where she's making a move confidently in front of everybody. She goes to the scientists, makes some moves there, and makes some bold choices, shooting the dude who takes his
Yeah.
wife hostage. She burns down their lab. She
What?
figures out what Gravik's
What?
plan is to make super
You can
Skrulls
just-
and everything. Hold on,
but you
all
don't-
I'm saying, this is my overall point, and then we can jump back and talk about stuff. My overall point is like I was joking about it, but she legitimately makes a speed run through the plot of the past 5 episodes so she can be caught up to where Nick Fury is. And where I have been very critical about the show dragging for 5 episodes, she does it quicker, which indicates to me they could have done it quicker with Nick as well. Like we could have been at this point in like episode 1 or 2 and then moved on to more interesting and exciting things. Pete, what did you want to say?
Anyways, going back to your fast forward through all of the cool stuff,
He's the Olivia Colman of the podcast, clearly.
Oh my God, am I?
No. Now
Yes, he
listen,
is.
the part where she's like, "Oh yeah, that's such a like the male species on this earth does like similar bullshit," and then like has this great zinger about like podcasts and stuff that I thought I was like, "Oh, that was sweet."
You felt roasted in that moment?
I
You
felt roasted. I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, roasted!" Ah! But I
No,
just think
I felt attacked. Are all podcasts like that, Olivia? Because I don't think so. We're
you know-
not doing murder stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Do you know what
but
the
we're
real
3
secret
dudes
invasion is?
yelling into
Olivia
microphones.
Colman invading our podcast and our personal
Exactly.
space.
That's why I'm so mad at you, Alex, the Olivia Colman of this podcast.
Oh my
because just-
God! Thank you! Thank you! Oh. Love it.
Also, yeah, I mean, whatever the having individual drawers for individual items is kind of ridiculous, but I'm a sucker for it, so it was fun. But also like the kind of reveal that we get that because this whole time we're like, is Fury using this lady for Skrull stuff? Does he love her? So in this we get the reveal that the love was real, which I thought was
Between
very
him and Scylla.
touching. Yeah, very touching and nice. Like the way he kind of like tells her without outright telling her. I thought that was a cool way to do it.
Well, let's sort of jump back and move through this. We can all drop our takes at once, Olivia Colman style. We get Fury yelling at the nearly dead president, running out, like
He
absolute
was
chaos.
yell whispering like, "Don't trust Rhodey."
Yeah. But the whole thing, this is back to what I was saying. Like, it's like the lack of nuance here. It's like if James Bond walked into a bar and his tagline, "I'll just have some warm fireball, I guess," rather than martini shaken, not stirred. It's just a little like basic, and I want them to go harder in every front. The idea that Fury killing Maria Hill makes him the most hated man on the planet, I was like, what? No one knows who the Maria Hill
Well,
is?
the
What are
crazier,
you talking
crazier thing about
everybody
that,
knows who Maria Hill is.
The
and we're
crazier
You
thing-
do?
heartbroken.
Not on the
Yeah.
planet.
I don't want to.
We're
I don't
on
want
the
to defend
planet.
journalism too much, but the fact that they're like, in Russia, Nick Fury, known hero, was seen killing his compatriot Maria Hill. Meanwhile, over here are shape-changing Skrulls. Moving on to the weather. Was
Yeah, exactly.
bonkers to me. Like that.
Well, that's
like
have
this.
you
Is,
seen
I know
the
I've been
news?
watching the
That's
show.
what it's like.
Sure. Wow. Okay. Wow. Fake news and etc. Pete. Right. I have
Wow,
no
here we
idea
go.
about-
What? Jesus.
But my point is
No,
that
I'm
like
just saying news is
I
insane.
understand this is them trying to be efficient in terms of the news story, but don't put that stuff back to back. Like to not have the level of an expert being like, you think these two things are related anyway? What's going on here? Also, the whole plan of Gravik's where he's like, well, they saw Talos as a Skrull, so we're going to get him to kill literally everybody in order to create a Skrull-Russia war because the Skrulls are aligned with Russia. This is banking on so many people being so unbelievably stupid, and the idea that the president of the United States has no people who do strategy on things.
Well, that's
I
the
don't
thing. None of it hangs together, and I don't even want all of it to hang together. Like, there are plenty of movies. The most recent Mission Impossible, that plot is like a little complicated and it doesn't quite hang, but that movie's fun and you ride with it. This show, there's too much nonsense right there. Like, is Nick Fury famous? He's famously in the shadows. Why is he famous? Maria Hill, also not famous. Killing her would not make him a hated man. And
Hard
then
disagree, bro.
He just
Hard
walks.
disagree.
Why let Fury just walk out of the hospital? Also, it's like you're trying to kill him, and then you're also like, live, brother.
I don't know if you noticed, but there is a plethora of Nick Fury walking away from the camera shots, all looking like a badass. Like, he doesn't care if there's 8 dudes pointing gun at him. He's got shit to do.
What did you think about when he looks like the "there's too much stuff on me" guy from I Think You Should Leave, when he goes through airport security or whatever it is, where he's like, "Hello, I am normal man Pickles Jury. Here's my ID. Good. Goodbye."
I thought that was fun because you have to make it seem like he's awkward, and so we know that it's Fury.
What?
Why? Why is that exciting?
In fact, I would argue
you have to look at somebody and
show.
go, I don't believe that person is wearing the skin that they're wearing or comfortable in the skin that they have.
Here's how you do that scene. I know we don't like rewriting on this podcast, but having
it seems
seen
like you guys love rewriting on this podcast.
Having seen several Mission Impossible movies that do this bit all the time, the way you do it is you have the weird, awkward dude who has like an awkward face that's clearly been put on his face is not Nick Fury. It's the other guy who's like been just let through security. So we as the audience are like, who's that weird dude? And in fact, Nick has gotten through plain and clean. Or alternately, that guy gets stopped in security and, they rip the face off, like they rip the skin off of his face. Nobody rips
faces off people in security.
Have you been to an airport recently?
Because there's so much unmasking.
It is.
Everyone's pulling everyone's wearing fun masks. Everyone's a Tom Cruise secretly.
It's more fun to have a Total Recall moment where the person is clearly not who they are, and you're like, oh, tension.
I think that this goes to taste. I think you two have different taste about this. My issue with this is like, this show is about people taking on other identities, being in disguise. Nick Fury is in disguise, and they do not relate it to the Skrulls at all. I'm like, you're literally doing what Skrulls are doing, and you can't make a connection here to the larger idea of Skrulls or the show or anything. Like, think about what you're doing to show. Make this a thing.
Well, let's talk about the big thing in the episode, at least plot-wise, which is the reveal of what Gravik actually wants is a thing called the Harvest, which is, I'm sorry, the blood that the Avengers left over in the battle.
Leftover blood. Who doesn't want
Nick
leftover
Fury
blood?
Scooped up in a little vial and then stuck in one of his gravestones, one of his many gravestones.
I heard he did it with his tongue. He licked it off the metal parts and stuff. That's the harvest.
Oh, why is this? I understand this is a big deal, but this didn't feel like an episode 5 revelation to me, given that he's already walking around with extremist powers. He's already walking around with Groot powers. They already have powers. They're already Super Skrulls. They have Cull Obsidian they've talked about. So they got all this stuff.
Well, especially if you're going to set this up, and I doubt we're going to see, maybe we'll see a little bit of it if they pull some Captain Marvel stuff in there. But like, I agree. I think because we haven't seen Cull Obsidian yet, right? So that's probably what we're going to see in the final episode. It's sort of setting up an expectation that we aren't going to get to see pay off. And secondarily, they have all the DNA of the Avengers and they put it in a little perfume bottle. They just scooped it all up in there together. So what are you going to pour it into your machine and scoop out all the different Avengers?
It's like in Twins. No, it's like in Twins. They're going to make a baby out of all of the Avengers. And they're going to get a large baby that's going to be most of like the good stuff of the Avengers. And then the small one's going to be Danny DeVito.
Guys, I don't understand what your problem is. They spelled it out. G was a part of the blood collecting team, and he's been like, you know what, since I had to pick up this blood and put it in a fancy perfume bottle, I'm gonna use this later on this motherfucker because this is a bullshit assignment.
I do the same thing. If I see any blood on the floor, that blood's going to me somehow. You know what I'm talking about,
exactly.
Right, Pete?
Let me get
you're
that
on board,
juice.
Right? That's what you're saying,
no,
right?
You have your intern, you walk by the blood and you tell your intern, go collect that blood. You got to put that in the perfume.
I will say,
you're a blood boy, if you will.
Yeah, your blood boy. It is crazy to me that they're like, oh, you thought that Gravik was Fury's like adoptive son, all these like larger family connections. Like, nope, he was his intern in a weird scheme. It's like, what? That's a Scooby-Doo plot. And you're telling me that's the huge emotional crux this series hangs on?
If you're mean to an intern ever, they're gonna over years come up with an elaborate plan and then get their revenge. You can't be mean to people.
Believe me, Pete, I know you have a Steve Buscemi style checklist of all the former bosses you had that you're slowly working down and definitely going to take revenge on. I'm sure I've never been your boss, but I'm sure I'm on that list somehow.
That's right, you are.
But I just can't get over the fact that it was one tiny little grave juice bottle that he's like, yep, this is what we call the harvest. You're going to have to go sort this out in your own time. But it did make me think we should get a little juice bottle with our different DNAs mixed together. Put it in our collective gravestone.
Thought after seeing that, you're like, oh, man, I need to get some juice in a gravestone.
We got to find a Skrull and be like, do you want the power of 3 podcasters?
Yeah.
Like,
the very distinct separate powers that we have.
Oh my God.
I consider you the Cull Obsidian of this podcast.
Wow. Yeah.
Nice.
You're not as impressed as Alex?
No.
So we got a Cull Obsidian, we got an Olivia Colman. By the end of this podcast, we're going to figure out whatever the fuck you are, Justin. Let's talk about a cliffhanger that everybody's talking about, the internet is freaking out about, is at the end, Nick Fury, after he's put on his iconic jacket and his eye patch and gotten some sort of a gun, which, as we know, is well established in this series. You only store guns in safe boxes by themselves.
You cannot get your hands on a gun in this American country of the Marvel Universe. Every gun is under lock and key.
But at the end, he makes a phone call to somebody and he says, let's finish this. And the internet is freaking out. They're like, who did he call? Did he call Captain Marvel? Did he call Monica Rambeau? The popular theory that everybody's going for is he called Quake from the series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And she's finally going to come in the 6th episode, which again has been well established by 5 episodes so far. So we know if you check each episode, there has been one letter from the name Quake has appeared somewhere in the dialogue. So if you put that together,
that's a big clue.
Quake.
Wow.
I'm about to drop. I've had in good authority that call went to Kevin Feige. And it was Samuel Jackson being like, I'm done making this show. Let's finish this.
Well, but seriously, though, I mean, I know I'm being very derisive here.
I thought he called his wife and was just like, hey, let's finish this.
I am happy to be wrong here, but I think at this point it is delusional for people to think that Quake from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to show up in the last episode of the series. Absolutely. Mind you, the handler dude,
I would love it.
Rick Davis or whatever his character's name is from Black Widow, shows up in a very random scene here where they don't say his name at any point. He's the guy who pops in on the plane and he's like, here you go, Fury. You seem pretty tired. See you later. We shot this weeks later, and then inserted here for no particular reason. I was on set for 2 hours.
I thought that was very fun, busting his balls a little bit. You're like, oh, you look grumpy.
Like the actor, like the character, why was he there, and why did they never say his name at any point?
Agreed. It was a sort of a weird non sequitur, and I was like, he was talking like he was an important character that is like, we were like, ha, they got him. But I was like, there should be much more of a reason for him to be here rather than just being like,
Well, he's the guy who gets, planes and stuff,
Yeah, the guy from Black Widow. You remember, you saw that over the pandemic.
From Black Widow, like she might date him, you know what I mean? They had a moment, but then she's
great
died.
Actor. I would love to see him be a running character through the MCU. That's fine. I'm happy to do that. But it definitely, we tape a Marvel podcast. I don't know if you guys are aware.
A Marvel podcast about marbles?
We tape a Marvel podcast. It's about marble counters and marbles that you play marbles.
Marble Madness, I remember. It's a great game.
Huge Marble Madness, great game.
Very much. You're really the Marble Madness of that pot. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything.
Wow.
Anyway, my point being, Quake's not going to show up. I think you're right. He's just calling one of the characters on the show. He's calling Gaia. He's calling his wife. He's 10 feet away from Olivia Colman. He's giving her a call or something like that. This is nothing.
Don't you think we're going to get one more cameo? Don't you think a larger Marvel cameo?
If we don't, that's insane.
In the final episode.
The only thing they could do to fill that gap is like, out of the machines they take real Rhodey and Martin Freeman, Everett Ross, those pop out. Like, I think that'll probably happen.
But I think that's sort of like an epilogue-y moment. But I think we need one superhero. Because, like, meanwhile, like, Gravik is supposed to be the big threat, except he was almost killed multiple times in this episode. So, like...
By a hammer? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
By a hammer in a plastic bag.
So, yeah, the hammer is a tip that Thor is coming.
Nice, yeah.
I do think, okay, well, why don't we turn to prognostication? We'll go to our vision board, talk about what we think we're going to see in the last episode. I will throw out there, if they do bring in a superhero, it's got to be after everything's done. Like, the whole point of this is Nick Fury taking care of it himself. He can't be saved by a superhero, so he has to finish it off and then get a call.
Sorry, they're called special friends in this episode, a normal term for our heroes to use about superheroes. Yep. Aren't you going to call your special friends? I was like, what? Get out of here with this talk.
So one of his special friends could show up, but it might be very similar to the Ote Fagnable, I think that's the name of the actor, showing up here, where it was a one-day shoot type thing where he's like, hey, Nick, you need any help with that Russia situation? He's like, already got it taken care of. See you in the Marvels. Pew, 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 pew. What about you guys?
Pews.
What do you think? What do you want to see in the final episode of the series?
Well, first I wanted to say that Rhodey was also very good in this episode. It's hard playing a Skrull version of yourself, but I think he did a great job.
A lot of nuances.
Yes, there is. I want to see a giant Skrull. Like, I want to see everyone scrolled out, just giant battle. Stop hiding, be who you are. And I really don't care which Avenger shows up, but it would be nice to get some backup. I would love it if Quake showed up, but I also think Ghost Rider would also be amazing too. Like, let's get weird.
Speedball. I'd love to see Speedball in the final episode.
Yep.
Penance?
Man, talk about
or
reveal.
Penance.
I mean, I think the only
Penance would be a bad choice, I think.
The only prediction that makes any sense is Mephisto Al Pacino shows up in the next episode, and that's what's going to happen. 100%.
Dude, if you call that,
that's long Vegas odds. I mean, the biggest thing I want to see is Nick Fury finish getting dressed by opening his drawer, and getting all of his underwear.
He has to go to a different cemetery for underwear, man. He goes one cemetery for an eye patch. Yeah, it's a totally different cemetery.
The two other things I wanted to say: the fact that the Gaia and Scylla get those assassins just blow it. They put on their like tactical JanSport backpacks and just wreck shit for a while. I was like, what is
but when you put on a brand new fresh backpack, though, you full of energy, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you've got, it's a special feeling.
That made no sense.
First day of school, you're just ready for anything.
I also think it was crazy that they spent so much time being like, wow, this is a beautiful house. This is really beautiful. And then
they shot it up.
Well, and she talks about, she's like, this is a safe place. This is a beautiful place. We wanted to be here. Take that shit outside. Like, this is going to happen. You're doing this as a trap to bring everybody to you. Go in the backyard and fight them there. I know it's more interesting that way, but it didn't contextually make sense with the way the character was framing things.
100%. And they spent more time talking about her house than they spent talking about Talos at his funeral, at his Skrull funeral. She was like, I love this house.
House though. I didn't know what she's talking about. You ever go to a place and you just feel like it's home? I mean, it's a really nice feeling.
Yeah. And they have mass in the background. Get it? Yeah. But the biggest reveal by far, I think, in this whole show is that Olivia Colman likes hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, she does.
Love it.
I was also like get out of here. Yeah, see, that's why
awesome.
That's what I meant.
And you identifying music. You're really the Kurt Loder of this podcast.
Wow. Google that, folks, because you probably don't know what Alex is saying.
And if you'd like to support this podcast and all the podcasts we do, patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Facebook and YouTube. Come hang out. We would love to chat with you about Marvel stuff. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show at Marvel Vision Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, stay marvelous.
I guess, though, I love this show. No notes.
It seems like, for a Marvel podcast, you should have less Batman stuff. You know what I mean?
Wow.
He's going to be in the next Avengers, right?